for the ladies and gentlemen who haven't come across you before, tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about your background.
Yeah, of course. So for the kind of the last, what would be 10, 15 years, I've been trying to make a name for myself in the IT industry, and I'm sure we would all agree that's very hard. It's a heavily saturated market nowadays. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of interesting things. And my kind of background was working for some large cybersecurity businesses and managed service businesses, kind of helping them with digital transformation and all of the kind of buzzwords that get chucked around in that space. And really, for me, it's been fantastic to be involved in a lot of these things, but I've got to the point where I was kind of willing to maybe make the biggest or worst mistake of my life and kind of branch away. And that's kind of where we are today.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. So tell us a bit about what the challenges are that you faced in starting up a new business in a time such as this.
Yeah, so one of the bits I'd like to point out is that it was never my aspiration to break away from a secure job with steady income and set up a business in the midst of a pandemic and also the economy completely kind of collapsing. So this wasn't planned. Effectively, I'd always kind of been in the position where I wanted to set up my own business, and it was something that was nagging away at me, and it's kind of eaten away for years and years. And effectively, kind of January time, I'd actually already handed in my notice. And because of the nature of the role I was working, I had quite a lengthy kind of period before I could actually branch out and set up my business. And it just so happened that during that time, we were hit with kind of what happened. But there was a lot of stuff that went into to get into this point. So I had building up a contingency, because one of the really important parts if you're going to set up a business is to make sure that you have financial capabilities to keep yourselves going for a period of time. I obviously needed to make sure that was much greater as a result of the fact of everything that's kind of gone on recently. And there was kind of other pieces that were going on as well. So naturally registering a business and what have you, that's the really easy bit. Building a rapport, getting people to kind of start utilizing your services is the really hard bit. So you really need to think about what it is you're going to do. And it doesn't have to be anything different, but it does have to add value where other people can't. So what I mean by that is you could come up with an idea that's very similar to someone else's, but if you're doing it in a way that improves the value that's given back to the client, then that in turn can kind of compete. If you're doing something that's exactly the same as everyone else and there's no kind of real USP, then you're really going to struggle, especially in the IT industry. So one of my biggest problems was, what am I going to do that is different to everyone else in such a heavily saturated market? And that takes a long time to think, kind of understand what it is you're going to do and bring that to fruition. And naturally, especially during this integral phase, as we're kind of still in startup, things chop and change, but I do believe, and I'm a firm believer that kind of with everything that's gone on, being agile has actually worked in our favor, and it's given us a bit of a USP because we can jump into stuff much faster than larger businesses, and we can adapt our processes and procedures to really help other businesses during this kind of crucial time.
Looking back over the last few months in terms of operating as a small business, is there anything that you would have done differently or anything that you would have changed or any lessons that you have learned?
Yeah, I mean, I would, if planning was able, I would have been in a position where, I would have avoided a pandemic as a business. I think that would be lesson 101.
Yeah.
But no, I think one of the bits that was kind of very naive of me was, especially during this crucial time, people don't want to be contacted about new products and services when they're kind of trying to keep the lights on and keep everything operating as it was. And I learned very quickly that we had to change our sales tact. Ultimately, businesses are sales tools at the end of the day. That's what we are. We're here to make money. But the way that works and the way I kind of envisage it is that we need money so that we can build the rest of our team and build a business that supports other businesses. For me, the money is kind of a byproduct, but it's a necessity to be able to kind of get yourself working. So the most important part was to be in a position where we had sustainable income coming in so that we could then build a business to support the guys that we wanted to, to kind of help them in the IT sense. And I think that whole ethos and the whole kind of perception of how that works probably took me a lot longer than I had anticipated. I'd kind of got it a bit like, well, we're doing something a bit interesting. People will naturally buy from us. Well, no, they won't. You're a small business. There's credibility is just you as an individual.
Yeah.
What is it that's going to make another business want to transact with you? So that was a really interesting learning curve. And then I think the other bit that was kind of very hard to take was the emotional roller coaster that goes with kind of founding a business. So
Yeah.
the good days are the best days ever. I mean, literally you wake up and it's like, I genuinely feel like I'm doing something, I'm adding a purpose, and I'm really helping people kind of tackle their problems and improve their businesses. And then on the days when it's bad, it's, why have I done this? You know, what am I trying to do? What is the meaning of life? You know, and you can really get yourself into a negative cycle. So I think you need to be extremely strong-willed, and you have to have that emotional detachment where you can kind of remove yourself from everything that's happening within your startup to give yourself the time and breaks that you need to be able to come back and combat those challenges. And being frank, I don't think I was mentally prepared for any of this. But as time has gone on, I've become more and more adapted to the way that we need to work. So I think that's a key learning. If you're going to go into it, it is you're all chips down, everything on the table. You're going to have to put 110% in all the time. There is no pass, go, collect £200. It's you have to work for the £200.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really kind of interesting.
Good stuff. Good stuff. No, and I think, look, from that basis, it's all about that all the time. And naturally, I think you must have some significant invested interest, because I think on the good days as well, you must look like and feel we've actually created something here. We have genuine purpose, and that business as such is I'm sure you hear it a lot, and I certainly hear it a lot in the small business community. It's your baby, and you're feeding it, you're growing it, you're nurturing it, and there must be a lot of pride you take in that as well.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest reasons behind setting it up. So, you know, I'm extremely passionate about IT. I'm also extremely passionate about helping businesses improve. And those two go together really, really well. Yeah. So for me, this is, setting the business up is kind of one piece of it. But for me, it's hoping that we can really help change businesses for the better and actually make them a better, you know, as an organization, be it through profitability, be it through, you know, employee engagement with their technical kind of capabilities, whatever that kind of looks like, whatever we can do from a technology standpoint that actually improves the working environment, that I'm all about that. And I'm really passionate about it. So that for me was probably the biggest part and the bit that I love the most about it, and the reason why I'm kind of still doing it. So I think that if anyone ever sets a business with the intention to make money, they're very foolish. Yeah. You have to kind of set the business up because you're really passionate about it and you actually want to change something. Yeah. I think if you try and do it the opposite way around, you're setting yourself up for failure. And like I say, this is my passion. I live, breathe, and die by the computer world. So it's kind of one of them. And you will get kicked so many times when you're trying to do these things because you're challenging the status quo. You're a small business. You're trying to take on things that other people might see that are outside of your reach, but they're kind of not, as long as you can deliver on the stuff that you say you're going to deliver on. So you have to roll with a lot of punches. There's going to be a lot of red tape. A lot of people, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And you have to overcome them. You have to wake up every day and go, right, I'm about to be punched in the face around 50 times. Am I ready for this? And 100 times, and you still have to stand there. So it's kind of very, very, very hard, but really, really rewarding. When things go right, it's fantastic. Best
I think the roller coaster analogy is absolutely a perfect way to define it. It is one of those things where you were in this all or nothing essentially, and the nature of doing that is that, look, you ride the highs and they're so much higher than anything else you've experienced, but naturally the lows, because you have so much invested interest, are so much lower. But I think you've got to mentally prepare yourself for that as well. You've got to be almost, as you say, wake up in the morning and expect that, but know that it's part of the bigger picture. Know that it's part of the path that you've chosen to walk, and know that, look, where there's a down part on the roller coaster, it's only because you have to go back up again.
And I think the pride is another big one. Yeah. So naturally, if you work for another business, you know, that's great, and I kind of understand it. But when you're doing it for yourself, it is literally the buck stops with you, right? Yeah. So you have to put 110% in, and things won't always go your way. And it's actually how you deal with those situations and how you overcome them that's the important part. And I think that's the biggest bit that I've learned. And because naturally, every time I'm working with any of our clients, I always want the best, and I want everything that we do for them to be the best. So when things kind of fall or you have problems along the way and there's hurdles faced, I'm kind of like, I have to overcome them and I have to deliver. And I think that that's something that previously I said I was doing, but I probably wasn't, because I did have that safety cloak of I'm working, you know, as part of a greater team or as part of a business. Whereas now, like I say, buck stops with me. It's my name on the business. I'm all running it. So if it goes wrong, I've got no one to blame but myself. So make sure you're prepared to be in a position where if it all goes wrong, it really is your fault and there's no one else you can blame.
What's the biggest struggle that you've had in this period?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we've had is actually getting clients to engage with us. No surprise. I think what was quite interesting is we'd heavily kind of bet on the digital platforms, LinkedIn and the likes, as being a way of generating new business. And actually, during the pandemic, that became a heavily saturated tool. Everyone, because everyone was kind of working remotely, it became the place where everyone was trying to transact business. And naturally, then, as a smaller business trying to overcome the larger businesses that are working within that realm is extremely difficult. So we had to adapt and change, take a separate tack. So that was probably the biggest challenge. And it genuinely, it went on for probably over a month. I think we got to about 45 days where we were engaging with people, the conversations were great, and then it kind of never went anywhere. And I remember thinking, it's a very challenging time, but nonetheless, if we can't overcome it now, then you really have to question what it is you're doing and if you're actually adding value. And that in turn, helped us rebuild and come up with new ideas and kind of hit the market with different things and different angles. It was pretty gruesome going through that kind of time where no man or dog wanted to talk or talk to us about any of our kind of ideas, because we were kind of learning and working out what it is that we were going to do that was really going to help businesses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're obviously emotionally invested in everything that goes on in your business. So what is the biggest success that you've had today?
Yeah, so there's been a couple along the way, but I think for me, one of the biggest ones where I realised that we were onto something is just a few days ago. We were working with another client, and they had some challenges with their remote working capability, some real basic stuff, no kind of game-changing stuff here. But when we kind of engaged with them, they were, we spoke to all these different providers, we don't really know what we want to do. And to cut a long story short, they effectively just wanted a real simple system to be able to take their phone calls anywhere. And other providers were kind of chiming in with expensive costs and something. And we actually just looked at the real basics and we helped them on a consultancy basis. So it wasn't like a big managed service, or it's not a huge sale or anything like that. But the response we got were, everyone else was trying to take us for a ride, and you just made stuff really, really simple. And that was when I was, for me, that was a big bit, because that's what we're all about. We're all about making technology simple for businesses. And to hear someone actually say those words back to me, without me preempting them and going, please tell me this, was fantastic. And I was absolutely ecstatic to hear that was the response that they had. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And then there's been a few others, people phoning about this, that, and the other, a couple of nice emails. And then the other real big one is the first deal that we landed, and it was tiny, absolutely tiny. But it was the first deal, and taking that away and kind of working as a smaller entity, I put just as much effort into the smaller deals as I do the bigger deals, because for me it's kind of everything. It's my life, soul, blood, everything. But it was just so nice to kind of get that over the line and be in a position where I was like, right, we're actually a business that is supporting another business's IT infrastructure. That is actually really cool. And you're listening to that going, no, it's not. That's really geeky. But that's what I really love. And that's what I really love. So to be in a position where I was like, this is a real business now. We are actually being paid to help this other business look after their IT. It was a game changer. I was like, this is fantastic. We're actually doing what I've set out to do now. So that gave me the confidence to deal with all of the nasty things that happened the couple of weeks after with this, that, and the other. So it's good. Like I say, complete roller coaster, and the bads are probably going to outweigh the goods, but those goods are really good.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's that understanding that, you're mentioning even things as little as an email there, and I think it does have a dramatic impact. Like even the nicest little note, knowing that you've done what the business has set out to, you are achieving your purpose, so to speak. It really does put you on cloud nine, so to speak, until you obviously knocked off it with the next problem. Let me ask you, what is it that you're excited for?
Yeah, so we're working on a real big game-changing product that effectively is designed to help businesses optimize their cloud infrastructure and do so in a way that is very cost-effective. And I think that's going to be really interesting. Having our own product come to market and have our own application that's really going to effectively do the digital transformation piece on us as a business. So the idea of the application itself is it's a kind of all-encompassing solution that allows you to orchestrate and manage everything that you purchase as a service from Next2IT. So effectively, you can kind of optimize your cloud so you can get them to turn on and turn off as and when you need to. You can purchase your kind of WAN infrastructure and all that kind of stuff, but all built into an app, as opposed to a lot of IT businesses at the moment, where that element is still, an analog piece of technology. We are a tech company, so we need to lead with technical solutions. So that for me is probably the biggest bit that I'm most excited about, and I think that's going to be a real USP and really kind of change. And I think we're going to be the leaders in that space, definitely.
That's amazing, and look, I think it's that the advantage you have as a small business is that you can be more agile, more creative, more innovative, and action things quicker and move things through the pipeline quicker than some significantly large businesses with more red tape. So you absolutely have to play on those traits. You cannot be a small business that runs like a large entity and be as successful as you want to be. The whole point and the whole purpose of me getting you on here today, to talk to the nice ladies and gentlemen who have stuck with us this far, is to talk about starting a business in this time. Obviously, we're in a period where there is considerable levels of uncertainty. There is a lot changing in the market. There's a lot of people who are very capable, who are questioning whether they're in the right place. A lot of people thinking about, should I go off and start my own business? A lot of people thinking about, okay, is it the right time, most importantly, because that's something that I hear quite a lot. So as somebody who has lived, breathed in this period, set up a business, and has been through the struggles, had the successes, and is now continuing to flourish and grow, what advice would you give to people who were thinking about starting their own business in a time such as this?
Yeah, I think the first bit that you kind of have to just be honest with yourself. There's never going to be a perfect time. And if you continue to put barriers up, you'll never end up doing it. And it'll probably be the biggest regret of your life. If you have the passion and the inclination to set up a business and that's what you want to do, then follow your heart and do it. I found a million reasons throughout my life to say, no, you can't do this. And I got to the point where I just had to just roll with it. You have to take the risk. And I think it was really interesting to see kind of how that panned out, because so many people have said to me, are you mad? You're quitting your job to set up a business during a time where complete uproar is happening in the world. And I was like, well, I have to do it now, because in my head, that's what I wanted to do. And I think as long as you're passionate and you genuinely have a good idea, well, not even a good idea, but you're just genuinely passionate about what you do and you want to change something, then you can. But you need to be really at the position where you can kind of deal with all the nasty stuff that's going to go with it, because the trail to these type of pieces is never as easy as it once looks. And once you start to embark on that journey, you're going to come up against a lot of obstacles. So you need to be prepared to overcome them. But stop putting barriers up to stop you from doing things in your life. I think the real takeaway is, if you want to do something, just do it. And then kind of learn on the way. It's really important, because you're going to learn so much more along that journey than you would thinking about it and trying to plan. You can plan to the 9th degree. I mean, literally, I spent 2 or 3 years planning. Oh, this is what it's going to look like. This is going to look like. 3 months in, my plans meant nothing. They were literally out of the window. I was looking at these going, this is complete. This isn't helping me at all. So jump in now and then learn along the way, because that's going to be worth so much more than planning for years and putting objections up. Just do it, basically. The Nike songs, do it.
Yeah. Shameless plug for Nike there. Yeah, exactly. I think look, it's one of those things where you highlighted it perfectly in the first sentence you said there. Look, there's never an ideal time, but if you're passionate, I think the one thing that we're going to see over these coming months is that the world is changing. There's going to need to be more solutions coming through. There's going to need to be more relevant services and solutions coming through for an ever-changing world. So in a time such as this, where there is uncertainty, there is change happening, make sure your business, if you're intending in setting one up, is a business that is clear on its vision, clear on its purpose, and is going to market to adapt to a changing world and make it better.
Yeah, and I think the other bit is, especially with the time that's most, maybe you're not looking to set up a business, but maybe you're out of work, you're furloughed or what. Use this time wisely. You're in a position now where there is time made available that is never normally available. Where, as the world's been in lockdown, learn a new skill, do something new, improve yourself. There's never been a better time to kind of do that kind of stuff. And there never will be. It was the most bizarre thing ever. You all have to we're all locked down. What are you going to do? Use the time wisely is what I would say.